The headmaster of UNRWA's Jabalia boys' school was born a few months before his family fled Palestine. The life he has lived tells one story of the Palestine refugees.
My name is Ahmed Mahmoud Abdullah. I'm 57 years old. I was born in a small village called Dihligat. It is inside the Green Line now. We've been forced to leave my village in the war 1948.
The UN estimated that over 700,000 refugees were created by the war. Mr. Abdullah, 9 months old at the time, and his family were part of this mass exodus.
On our way to leave from our village to the nearest village, an Israeli fighter threw a bomb in us, killed all my family.
The entire family was believed to have been killed, and the bodies were brought to the nearest cemetery.
They buried the girls first, and when they came to bury the boys, they said to start with the youngest or with the eldest. Someone got it's okay, start with the eldest, then the youngest on the top. They put my eldest brother Muhammad, then the second brother Uthman, and when they come to bury me, they took me to in the grave. Someone of them touched me from the place I was injured. So I cried. When I cried, they realized I was alive.
Mr. Abdullah and his mother were the only survivors of a family of 9. The two were part of a wave of destitute people washed up across the Middle East. They ended up in Gaza, where the population trebled. Hundreds of thousands more flooded into the West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Starvation was rife. No one will ever know how many died. In some areas, refugees lived in caves.
They left their furniture, their clothes, money, sheep, cows, food, everything they left behind. They think that they will stay maybe 2 weeks, a week, and return back.
In 1949, the refugee question was still unsolved. In that year, the international community mandated UNRWA to provide aid to the growing refugee population living in camps across the region.
They gave us a tent. It was a small tent. But for me, it was a castle because this is the only home I know. This is the only place I can find warm place to sleep.
UNRWA quickly became the main provider for the refugees. The most urgent task was to allow them to move out of the tents into more decent shelters. Mr. Abdullah and his mother found a place in Jabalia camp in northern Gaza.
We get a room in the camp. It was a small room, 9 meters square. It is the bedroom, it is the kitchen, it is the living room, it is the toilets and the water supply were in the streets.
Assistance to the refugees amounted to more than tents. UNRWA supplied food, and with the WHO's help, immunizations and healthcare. Crucially, UNRWA, with assistance from UNESCO, committed itself to the education of the refugees' children. Even if a lack of resources meant the first schools were housed in tents and out in the open, UNRWA had taken the first step in developing the human potential of the refugees.
The number of the students began to increase because the people realized the importance of education for their life. It was the first way to change the family or to have an income for the family, to have an educated person in the family. The fathers and mothers were very proud when they find their son is in school or in high school.
Refugee education, health and welfare became regional success stories wherever the agency had established operations. By the late 60s, literacy among refugees was higher than in the populations of some of the host countries. The 1967 war caused a second exodus, in which people who had been born and brought up in camps fled to new places of refuge. At least 190,000 fled from the West Bank and Gaza to Jordan. Another 16,000 refugees joined the more than 100,000 fleeing from the Golan Heights.
I lost some friends. Some of them were killed, others disappeared. Till now we have no idea about them. At that time, I joined a training center for teachers in Ramallah, West Bank. This center also run by UNRWA. I specialize in teaching English language. Graduated in 1969, and immediately I got a job in UNRWA schools in Jabalia camp.
In the 35 years that Mr. Abdullah has been a teacher and a headmaster, the refugees have had to face some terrible emergencies. Whether they be brief crises like the 1973 Arab-Israeli War, or long-standing tragedies like the conflict in Lebanon, UNRWA's infrastructure has been able to add emergency services to its regular programs.
We are the loser in any war. We are the weaker side. We lose people, we lose dares, we lose dreams, we lose idea. We are the most important, to lose the dream or to lose the hope. The second intifada was worse because in the first intifada there were no demolishing houses. Now they're demolishing housing, uprooting farms, demolishing water wells, farms.
As headmaster of the Jabalia school, Mr. Abdullah has also been deeply affected by the second intifada.
At this school, 4 students have been killed, and unfortunately all of them in the head. That means a sniper. 18 students lost their fathers. 18 students lost their father. 3 teachers lost their brothers.
The agency has been forced to launch successive emergency appeals since October 2000. Part of the donations have been used to fund counseling for the kind of traumatized children that Mr. Abdullah sees every day.
The children who in the morning they leave their bed wet. I was shocked with the number of them. I was shocked. I was shocked when I find about 10 students in my school walk through their sleep and shouting because they saw a killing of someone.
The conflict, curfews and closures mean UNRWA is now obliged to provide food aid to more than 1 million people. At the same time, the emergency programs have been hard-pressed to meet the need for new shelters among the thousands of refugees who have been made homeless in the past years. The programs have also helped to create new jobs for thousands of breadwinners who have been made unemployed because of the present situation in the occupied territories. Despite the world's focus on conflicts, for decades UNRWA's regular programs in the occupied territories in Jordan, Syria and Lebanon have quietly got on with the job of helping the refugees to help themselves. Its 660 schools now provide 500,000 children with a start in life. In 122 clinics, doctors have helped banish most of the main infectious diseases. For the very poorest families, UNRWA's social workers provide both a safety net and a way out of poverty.
I remember when I took my first salary, taking it, jumping and dancing. Now I have a job and I have an income by the end of the month. I'm a man now. I'm taking my salary and jumping to my mother. And she told me, Ahmed, I brought you up not for money. I brought you up to bring me my family back again. I realized that she wanted me to marry to bring her children, and fortunately I have the same number of children as my mother had one day, 3 sons, 5 daughters.
Ahmed Mahmoud Abdullah, the refugee baby that everyone thought was dead, is now 57 years old and one of the most respected persons in Jabalia camp. The help he got from UNRWA, he has now been able to give back many times to his community.
you.